Now, just jumping into Christianity for a minute. I've always grown up under the Christian religion. I've never been a hardcore Christian who goes to church or anything like that, but I did read the Bible numerous times, but I have also read other religions, and by doing that, I've had an opening to a lot of many different religions, seeing that they all generally have basically the same story that goes down through them. But anyways, let's deal with just Christianity for now. We're going to talk about how Christianity was started. First, it was started by so-called Jesus Christ, but we'll get into Jesus Christ after. We'll go right away 300 years down the line, because from the time Jesus Christ was crucified till the time the Roman Emperor Constantine actually made Christianity allowed to be worshipped, people were being persecuted for following Christianity. So you weren't really allowed. And then when the Roman Empire came and brought it in, then people were allowed to worship Christianity because they weren't getting persecuted anymore. But what a lot of people don't understand is Constantine was a pagan and used Christianity just as a political movement. So I'm going to tell you the story about Constantine right now. After years of political maneuvering, Constantine became emperor of the Roman Empire in 306. The beginning of his Christian conversion came when he was Maximus, the night before the Battle of the Milvian Bridge in 312. Constantine had claimed that the night before the battle, he had a vision. In his vision, it was God who spoke to him. He claimed that God had told him to mark the symbol of Christianity, which was not the cross at the time, but it was the Cho-Ri, which is a P with an X on the bottom of it. And he told his army to mark their shields with that, and this meant that they were following the word of Jesus Christ, and because God had told him if he did this, he would be victorious in his battle the next day. Now, obviously the next day they went into battle and Constantine won, and everybody said, okay, it's because of Christianity, it's because of God, this is why we won. So now we have to be Christians, we have to follow the Christian religion, and Constantine indoctrinated it into the law. What a lot of people don't know is the battle was between Constantine and his brother Maximus. What a lot of people don't know too is after the battle, yes, a lot of Maximus's army was brutally defeated, but Maximus himself was spared and allowed to live freely amongst the land. So again, I talk a lot about staged wars, and this sounds like a staged war to me if I've ever heard one. So after this whole staged war had happened and Constantine had tricked the minds of people into accepting Christianity over paganism, once in power, he stopped the persecution of Christian followers and secretly changed pagans to Christians. He built churches all through the land and gave them tax-exempt status, which means the churches didn't have to pay tax. The church became more political, and other leaders used it as a way to gain favor with the emperor. So you can see right from the beginning how Christianity was used as political maneuvers. Pagan temples were destroyed and churches were built using pagan wealth. Laws were written that reflected the doctrine of the church, and underneath it was basically old pagan holidays. The Winter Celeste holiday was converted and eventually became December 25th, the official designated holiday to be celebrated as the birth of Jesus Christ, and later became Christmas with Santa Claus and all this nonsense. Constantine was a harsh ruler. Taxes were very heavy, and punishments for breaking the law were extreme. The church grew fat and rich with corruption, and it was a political pawn instead of a spiritual heaven. So let's just talk about Jesus Christ for a minute. First of all, why do we call him Jesus Christ? His last name wasn't Christ. We know this. In all texts, he was either always called Jesus of Nazareth or Jesus Christ. But the problem with him being called Jesus Christ is Christ, the word itself, comes from the Greek word Christos, which means anointed one. It refers to anyone who has been anointed with holy oil or water in a type of ceremony, which is actually baptism, what we're talking about there. So the word Christ is actually a title. It's a title that would come after you were baptized. Basically, anyone who's been baptized is Christ. Another problem we often come into conflict with is they say Jesus was a poor person. This is not the case. In previous days, back when Jesus was alive, it's a known fact that his father, Joseph, was a carpenter, and Jesus himself studied carpentry. Carpentry was a good paying job at the time, and if you were a carpenter, you were more or less a very wealthy person. Number two, Jesus studied in the temples all the time, or was praying in the temples, which was equivalent to studying in schools or universities or whatnot. Again, he was able and had the privilege to travel throughout lands, which is something that only more elite families had the privilege of doing. It is also said that Jesus was from that 13th bloodline, the Merovingian bloodline, descendancy of King Solomon. What had happened, the real Jesus Christ story, is he was supposed to be a political leader. He went away to study. When he came back, he was supposed to assume power. What had happened was he came back and he had a different story to tell, because he had learned from Mary Magdalene and had learned from other Nubian teachers that Gamitra and other ways of life. And when he came back, he was able to perform acts like the gods that he had learned from Gamitra, such as like telekinesis, being able to walk on water, healing people, whatnot. When Jesus Christ started his religion that could or could not have been Christianity, he used the symbol, the Chi Rho, which was again a P with an X over it. Now, if you look closely to it, it's kind of symbolic for a circle over a six-pointed star, which again would be the good versus evil balance inside of us, with the 6 points of our senses, and telekinesis being the extra, or spiritual being the extra added sense that we're supposed to have. So also, I'd like to point out that in 1984, they found the tomb of Jesus. Not many people ever heard about it or knew about it, but they did find it in a rich part of Israel, proving that he and his family were basically buried in an elite fashion. So going through this, we know that Jesus Christ had specific words that he said. Constantine adapted himself into Christianity and changed what Jesus Christ's real religion was supposed to be. Jesus Christ talked about not paying taxes. He talked about going against the evil empires that were subduing the people and using the people as slaves, basically, treating them unfair, where a handful of individuals had power and were being treated like kings and were not holding the people's best interests at heart.